Welcome to What? That Old Queen, a candid and adult take on queer life quandaries at a certain age, so please listen at your own discretion. Presented by Bernie and Tommy, their views are their own and in no way reflect those of any service you may hear this programme on. Now, let your ears be upstanding for the Old Queen. Lockdown is over-ish.
Yeah, it's true. How are you?
I'm all right. How you feeling about being able to be in a pub garden?
I love being in a pub garden, and it was just lovely to... we went to the pub on Monday, just sort of little frissons of looking over to different tables and checking out different people. I think I missed that the most.
Yeah, it was quite nice. It was quite... social,
yeah,
like in a way that it didn't feel like we'd been for such a long time. Even when we kind of came out of lockdown last time, we'd go to that pub and no one else would be there except for us. Like no one we knew.
Yeah, it was definitely the place to be.
Yeah. And you've had some big news announced this week.
I have, yes. I've got a full-time role as an artist, which is what I was doing for the last 21 years. But I'm now being on a pay-ye contract. So it's a kind of social...
That's my grinder, it's fine.
Okay. It's an experiment to see what would happen if you pay artists a wage and see what they would come up with so they don't have to go through the rigmarole of applying for one project to another.
Yeah.
So it's really exciting to be a guinea pig in that way. And it's a role for a whole year. And I'm a full-time artist. So, yeah, it's brilliant. It's with an organisation called Strike a Light in Gloucester.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into that.
But you're so... I mean, I would say you're so prolific and you're so tenacious as an artist. Having worked with you, over the last 18 months or so, I know what you're up to and what you do and things like that.
I'm always juggling things.
Yeah, and I think that's brilliant. We've got another prolific and tenacious artist coming on as our guest a bit later on, John Lee Bird, who's a visual artist, and he surprised us with a couple of voodoo dolls of us.
Yeah, that's really, and actually what you're saying is that he is that prolific person in the sense that, and I recognised myself when I was looking at his work and what he's been up to, like it feels like he's made the most out of lockdown.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. I mean, I think he's made like thousands of those little dolls.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to talk to him about him and his work. And he does other stuff. He doesn't just make little dolls. But that's going to be really interesting. But we've also got the return of What That Really Old Queen.
Yeah, which is one that you've picked out and I'm keen to know more. I wanted to not let this moment go past without noting the sad passing of Nikki Graham.
Yes.
Who was just always been one of those brilliant person who I just loved and was always totally herself. And I felt like that passing is so tragic and so sad. And we're all supposed to be in this national mourning for someone that I don't have any relationship to at all. And feel quite sort of the fact that our radio, for me anyway, because I listen to the radio all the time, sort of has been intruded so much about like what we can do on the radio. And yeah, I didn't want to let it go unnoticed that I feel the sadness of her passing.
Yeah, because it's kind of been blindsided slightly by a royal figure.
Yeah.
Who was kind of expected to die anyway. We've kind of known that they've been ill for quite a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were lots of complaints, weren't there, about BBC being taken over by this, that all of their channels were taken over.
And usually the BBC actually have to report those things, but they don't seem to have done that.
No. What about Nikki Graham?
No, they don't seem to have reported the fact that
they had loads of complaints.
That they had loads of complaints, yeah. Because that in itself is newsworthy, isn't it?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But they're not going to admit to their own mistakes, are they?
Well, sometimes they have to when they were talking about, like, women's pay versus...
Yeah.
So they were forced into a situation where they had to use that for the content for the news. But they haven't seemed to have done that with the Duke of Edinburgh passing.
No. But it's like maybe one channel, but not all of them.
Well, I always listen to Six Music. And it's like, I don't think that the average Six Music listener gives a one hoot about the Duke of Edinburgh.
No, exactly. People are up in arms because Gardener's World wasn't on.
Was that you?
It wasn't me personally, no, but I do know people that were very upset about that. And the Top of the Pops reruns on BBC Four. I mean, BBC Four was just off air. Like, anything they put out could be offensive.
Bizarre.
It's odd. Someone who maybe was a little bit of offensive sometimes, but not actually. He was just an amazing, large character, is Monty Rock, who's the subject of What That Really Old Queen. I've always loved the song that they had out with Get Dancing.
Do you remember the title of it?
Yeah, just about. When he was Disco Tex and his Sexolettes. But I remember it as a kid being number one and dancing to that on Top of the Pops, in the living room, and just seeing him as a very flamboyant character. And he was on... he came up on one of my YouTube feeds the other day, Get Dancing, and I just thought, I love this song. And then I went into a little bit of a hole about researching him. And he was kind of like a fabulous... And I'm talking to him about him in the past tense. He's not dead. He's 80, and he has a residency in Las Vegas still.
Is he some kind of priest now?
He's an ordained priest, so he can marry people.
Oh, okay.
But he's also very gay. So Monty Rock, formerly Monty Rock II, Monty Rock IV, and Monty Rock V, and Sir Monty Rock, but now he's just called Monty Rock, and was obviously Disco Tex with his Sexolettes, as he's reinvented himself lots of times. But his real name is Joseph Martinez, and he was born 29th of May 1942 to a Puerto Rican family in the Bronx. And he parlayed his role as a celebrity hairdresser into a role on centre stage, basically. And he was in the film Saturday Night Fever. He had like a little cameo appearance in that.
What was he in, like a DJ or something?
Yeah, he was a DJ in the disco. And that's one of his three major claims to fame, for the hairdresser turned bon vivant and cabaret entertainer. So he claims he spent his life as an exercise in performance art. And I'm quoting him. He says, "Sometimes I realise how lucky I've been and how I messed it up." But he also claims that he paved the way for reality TV.
Yeah, because I saw a clip of him saying, everyone keeps saying, oh, you've got to have an act. And he didn't have an act.
Not at all.
Yeah.
He was his own act.
Yeah.
In so many ways. And it talks about this. So he was a professional talk show guest in the 1960s. TV talk shows treated gay men as a curiosity. And they kind of did that over here, didn't they? With his outrageous fashions and personality, Rock was the vanguard of wink-wink, nudge-nudge game played by the likes of Liberace, who Rock says stole his act. Johnny Carson had him on The Tonight Show 36 times, and according to IMDb, lending credence to Rock's claim that he was a reality show before reality shows. He was a one-hit wonder in 1974, but actually he had two hits.
Two-hit wonder doesn't have the same ring.
No, but I guess the whole album, it was a bit of a concept album. So Rock was christened as Disco Tex by the producer Bob Crew for the number 10 single Get Dancing, which I think went higher in the UK charts than it did in America. And I Want to Dance with Chew.
Yes, I like the spelling of the chew, yeah.
So in Saturday Night Fever, Rock's minor part was elevated not only by the fad, but because the rest of the cast beyond Travolta was, and actually including John Travolta, because he wasn't very well known back then, it kind of shot him into stardom. But he was relatively unknown, so he was able to negotiate a special billing on the end credits because people knew who Monty Rock was. He says, it gave me credibility for another 2 or 3 years. He says the role handed to him by one of the producers, Freddie Gershon, a longtime friend who knew he was broke. Hello, any friends out there? You can put me in a movie. Travolta didn't want to do promotional junkets, so the studio used to pay Rock to show up at discos and screenings. So he was like...
Did the work for Johnny.
He did all the PR for it.
There's one clip that I saw, maybe it was on the Johnny Carson show. It's only a tiny clip, but he says, I am Ricky Martin's mother.
Well, this is it. He was such an amazingly loud personality, and I watched lots of clips of him, especially in the 1960s when he was on those black and white TV shows, and he just kind of lit up the screen, and in a way that people like Kenneth Williams would do when they went on to chat shows. And I think he talks about being gay as being a little bit of a sideshow. He says, I was not an industry, I was just one person shocking the world by being outlandishly innocent about what I was doing. I'm not a good actor, but I did film. I'm not a good singer, but I did records. I'm a columnist who can't type. My one genius was hair. I could do hair, but doing hair for 30 years was not exactly something I had in mind. I don't think it's bad to be self-absorbed. When my parents found out I was gay, they threw me out of the house. I knew my destiny was in my own hands. I was a great hairdresser, but I became such big news for doing nothing. I discovered myself. And so, yeah, he goes on to talk about being a gay sideshow on talk shows. And he says, you weren't allowed to mention it. I was out of the closet when I came out of the womb. The only question I had with gayness was whether I was going to be in the closet like other celebrities, and I never was. I've been put in the position maybe twice or 3 times where I was made fun of, and I learnt very quickly. What I learned is each time you make an appearance, tell a better story. And I talked and talked and talked and made talking into an art. It's a bit like brilliant. It's a bit like what we do here.
Well, there's something about, for me, there's a couple of things. Yeah, telling a story, and then the more you tell it, the more refined it gets. And, you know, I've noted that really with the people that I work with when I get them to give me their kind of oral histories. And these stories have been so well crafted just because they've been told so many times.
Yeah.
And they're those stories that are particular to those people, really. But what I think is fascinating about him is this sort of idea of reinvention, really. And I wondered whether there's something connected with a kind of queer sensibility that makes you want to reinvent yourself constantly. Because he changed his name how many times?
I think it was about five that I mentioned.
Yeah. And I think that we've all known queer people that do that. And I just wonder what that is about, really.
Yeah, I think it's maybe we recognise the different stages of our lives and we still want to be fabulous, but we need to reinvent ourselves in that kind of period of our lives. But I think he's an outstanding role model for, like, he was out and being gay at a time where it was illegal, not cool, but he made it cool because everybody wanted him on their chat show. So he goes on to say, at least I had a reason to be gay. I turned it into show business. Then everyone came out of the closet. My gayness became mainstream, and then everybody became gay, and my career was over.
Oh, no.
So on his career in Las Vegas, where he's been for the last few years, my opinion of it is characters like me are long gone. People who are self-created are long gone. Someone like me belongs here because it lends itself to the glitter of Vegas. But the talent of surviving is a talent. Life has a way of you either sink or swim, and I've been able to sink more times than swim. I'm the world's most successful failure.
Oh, I love that.
Monty is now an ordained minister, according to his Facebook page. But I mean, isn't that remarkable? He's literally famous for being just fabulous. And if you watch some of those videos, I was watching Get Dancing with discotheques and his sexolettes, and he's just having an amazing time. And I think that was a toured show as well, which was just like a cabaret show, and he's just on stage singing and dancing and having a ball. And that's why he's famous. Isn't that what we love about performers, though?
Would you like to go to Las Vegas and see him?
I would love to go to Las Vegas and see. I mean, it might not be as fabulous as it would have been in the 1970s.
Well, what do you imagine the kind of venue that he's performing in?
Well, I imagine it must be one of those like hotels where they have...
Okay. Could we do like a What That Old Queen in Las Vegas?
Well, that old queen goes to Vegas.
Yeah.
Well, if people sponsor us a bit more on our donation page, maybe we can. Maybe we could get a grant for it. And we could have him on the show. I said that to Robbie, actually, our friend Robbie. I was talking to him about Monty Rock, and I went, "Oh, can we go to Vegas and see him?" And he went, "Yes," and then he can marry us because he's an ordained minister.
So it's you and Robbie getting married, not me.
Well, it could be.
I'll just be the
it could be any of us.
Bridesmaid.
Well, maybe we'll draw straws. That's how marriage works, right? But I think this guy's such a fabulous character, and I'll post some pictures on our Instagram page about him. And I'm surprised that we haven't done him before, really. But I guess he's not as big over here as he is in America. And I just think he's outrageous, fun, and a very good gay role model.
And looks great in a tunic.
He looks great in a tunic. Well, I love the white... He had like a white suit and a white fedora in the Get Dancing video. But if you've not checked out Discotheques and his sexolettes, get onto YouTube and have a little boogie to it.
Did you happen to catch Dr. Christian Jensen's tweet about Arlene Foster's having an affair?
No. What is this?
Do you know Dr. Christian? Do you know he did the Embarrassing Bodies?
Yes. Yeah, he's the TV doctor, isn't he?
Which I was on Embarrassing Bodies.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I've got a sort of very particular kind of eczema connected with my varicose veins.
Right.
And they had this little sort of porter cabin up in the centre of Bristol, and I just sort of looked in.
Sauntered in.
And he sort of gave them a peruse, was touching me all over.
Do you want to show us on your doll where he touched you?
Now that I've got one.
Yeah.
And then it was aired, and then I managed to make it into a song, which I can't find on my computer.
Right.
But yeah, so Dr. Christian tweeted that Arlene Foster was having an affair with her security guard.
Oh.
But I think it was a dig at her sort of stance on gay marriage, which she says she's not homophobic and she's got gay friends.
But she doesn't like gay marriage.
Well, I think the DUP is anti-gay marriage.
Oh, okay.
But she's suing him for defamation of character, and it's all being played out in the courts right now.
Oh.
So that's one to watch.
Oh, yeah. We'll keep an eye on that.
And I love a defamation of character case, don't you?
I'm surprised we haven't been in court for it. Some of the things we've said on this podcast.
I like the defamation of character of who was actress that was in Gone with the Wind? Not Vivian Leigh. Olivia de Havilland.
Oh, yeah.
Olivia de Havilland sued Ryan
Reynolds? Johnson.
Who did the Feud show.
Oh, Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy for defamation of character because her character was being played by Catherine Zeta-Jones. That was my Welsh accent. Because they sort of planted a huge rift between Olivia de Havilland and her sister. And she sued them when she was 110 or something.
Wow, she's with it.
Yeah, and died 2 years later. And begs the question, was it worth it?
I thought she was suing for defamation of character because Catherine Zeta-Jones was playing her.
No, I mean, quite like Catherine Zeta-Jones to play me.
Yeah, I think she was good in that.
She was, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's been good in loads of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, I'm not suing you for defamation of character yet. But let's talk it out. Talk it out over the break. Okay. So we'll be back after this. Blah blah blah. Trying to grow our audience. Blah. Please share our episodes on social media. I mean, I know you won't, but I'm going to ask anyway. Oh, by the way, there's a Patreon account below, so if you can spare a bob or two and help us with some overheads, that would be amazing. Anyway, thanks again for listening. Blah. Right, so we're back. And we have a very special guest. We have one of the most prolific visual artists in the UK, I would say, John Lee Bird. Welcome to What That Old Queen.
Hi, old queens. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi.
We're very excited to have you because you've made some dolls of us.
I know. I couldn't resist touching you up.
As long as you don't stick pins in them, that's fine.
How do you think they were made? You've been pinned and pricked and rubbed all over.
I've been in agony for a week.
You've sorted out any lower back pain anyway.
Yeah, definitely. So, how many dolls have you made during lockdown?
I don't fucking know. But couple of hundred at least, because lockdown kicked in and I found a pack of felt lying around in my storage, and I was sick to death of drawing and all that shit, and thought, I'm going to make a David Bowie doll just for the fun of it. I also had some orange wool, so obviously I leapt in with the Man Who Fell to Earth type Bowie doll, and then rather enjoyed it and did another one, and then went, I should do 69 David Bowie dolls, because he died when he was 69. And, a couple of months later, there's 69 Bowie dolls all been done. And then it was like, actually, I want to make Tina Turner. As you do. So, and now I've sort of gone off on a tangent.
Have you made the Tina Turner and the David Bowie fuck?
I so should have done the one where she says, when she whispers into his ear on when they're performing tonight, and she says, like, no, he whispers to her, doesn't he, saying, my dick is so raw.
Yeah, I love that.
Have you seen the clip? So beautiful. I'm a massive Tina Turner fan.
Me too.
Yeah.
And you've done Tina for a different project as well, haven't you?
I think whenever there's sort of a lockdown or a personal tragedy or just life is just miserable, I always sort of go back to icons and things and do a project about icons. Like, I always fall back on wanting my heroes around me.
Yeah.
So
I've been talking about Nikki Graham being a bit of an icon. Would you make one for her, or is it too popular culture?
I don't know. I've when I was doing sort of portrait paintings and things of like up and coming performers and musicians and stuff, I also include like the old barmaid who I love. So I could squeeze Nikki in.
She might be good as a doll.
Yeah, she would lend herself to that genre.
What have you been saying about Nikki?
I was just mouthing off about how pissed off I am that we have to be in national mourning for someone that we don't really, that's, massively privileged and we had no connection to, particularly as queer people, actually. But then felt like the sad lossing of Nikki was going under
the radar,
under
really,
the
wasn't
radar,
it?
yeah. Because I just felt like she was someone that was truly herself all the time.
Yeah, and she gave us, who is she? Do you know what I mean? So that's culturally important. It's way more important than an old racist talking shit, isn't it?
So you've got a huge body of work. We've been looking on your website, and you do there are lots of different
else.
lots of different projects, and you kind of do them in different styles, don't you? But then you kind of produce lots in that style.
Yeah, I blame a David Hockney quote that I read years ago, and I may have this wrong. It might not even be David Hockney, but somebody said, possibly David Hockney, said that you have to complete something every day. So I'll do that. And then also there's the Brian Eno thing of if you make a mistake in music, repeat it 3 times and it's not a mistake. So I'm sort of combining those two things together and just going, if I on a whim I make something, then I've got to then make 300 or whatever.
How long does it take you to make a doll?
About 8 hours for each one.
Wow.
So you two have been really rubbed and fondled.
I felt it.
Yeah, good.
Are you planning to sell us?
Who to?
Well, I was hoping one of our rich patrons might buy them.
I'm hoping that too. But the plan's to do like a big exhibition. I want all the dolls to come to life. It's got to be sort of Live Aid-esque. You two can host the show.
Amazing.
Do you know what I mean?
We'll be there. We'll actually do it. We'll do all the voices.
Yeah, we'll do a live broadcast exhibition.
Amazing. Definitely be up for that. And you've done is there one called Before Encore or something?
Before Encore,
yeah.
Before Encore, yeah.
And describe that little project to us.
Well, that little project ended up lasting about 10 years. And
I was being ironic.
On a weird project that I started because basically I ended up in Edinburgh doing a cabaret show called Fabaret. And we had like loads of performance artists with us, and it was a little troupe that went around. So we had Boogaloo Stew joining in, Roy, Big Nipple Roy, Sparkle Motion, Princess Knickers, and all this. And
how does Big Roy get those big nipples?
Oh, he stretched them out, and like the whole Oriella bit. Oriella, I can never say that word, but that's all be tattooed in because that's sort of 3 foot down now or whatever.
Wow,
they're gorgeous. I love those nipples.
He has to tape them down to wear a t-shirt to go out in. Like, you hang out in Edinburgh and you go out to Dalkeith, which is where we were staying. You go to Lidl to buy some veg, and those come in. It's a bit of a shock to people. So he sort of tapes them down a little bit.
Otherwise, they're permanently erect.
Yeah, well, or poking old ladies' eyes out.
My nipples are completely the opposite.
Because I was hanging around with these performance artists and all this and doing this show, I suddenly thought I'd quite like to document these people that I'm hanging around with, because I was snapping away with my camera. And then thought, let's do some big sort of cinescope portraits. Big Andy Warhol sort of factory thing. Yeah, then spent 10 years hanging out with people. And
were you performing in that show in Summerhall?
Yeah, dressed as a furry monster, and we were jumping around with giant mushrooms and eating glitter and rubbing ourselves on the audience.
Are you in Slapper?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm friends with Suey Sue.
Yeah. Well, that's how I think that's when I met you, when you did King's Cross.
Okay, yeah. Explains it. Yeah, got it.
And I'd just given up painting at that point, because basically I'd had 4 strokes and couldn't really paint anymore. So I ditched the Before Encore project, plus it tied in with the 10-year anniversary. But yeah, you'd been on my list. My hit list of people to paint.
But you've been made into a doll.
I felt rather sad when I met you, and I was like, I want to photograph him and fucking paint him. So yeah, it's taken a few years to turn you into a doll.
Well, we got there in the end.
Amazing.
With your floppy neck.
It's funny because I've been doing a piece about the friendship between Kenneth Williams and Maggie Smith. And Kenneth Williams says to Maggie, he was doing this thing with her called Acting in the 60s. And he says to her at the end of the filming, "You're extraordinarily relaxed. I mean, your head is so relaxed." And she says, "Well, that's because I've got so many fillings that my head is full of lead. It just keeps falling forward."
Is that your excuse today?
I never knew that I had one until I saw the doll version of myself.
And you're a big fan of the podcast, aren't you? You've been listening to it while you've been making these dolls.
Well, yeah. You've filled many a night.
Have you got a favourite episode?
Oh God, I knew I should have made some notes. I listened to about 5 last night because I got so sick of listening to the Doors. I'm trying to make a Jim Morrison doll,
Right.
but I haven't got the dark wall that I need, so I've ordered it. It's going to take a few days. I was like, do you know what? I'm going back to What That Old Queen. I was playing some old episodes. And there's the one where you talk about Larry Grayson.
Yeah.
That's really good.
And the onion sandwiches. That's what I...
Yeah.
That's what I think of Larry Grayson, is the onion... Just onion sandwiches. They had onion sandwiches. One of my favourite podcasts is Fortunately, with Jane Garvey and Fee Glover. And they are currently having 2 weeks off, and so they posted an old one that with Esther Ransom, and it's just brilliant. It's just such a laugh. Esther Ransom is just gold.
She always has been quite golden, hasn't she?
Yeah,
she'd be gold, but how'd you do the teeth?
Yeah, I mean, you need to think about that.
You know what I mean? I love her.
She said something like, "I went into a shop and someone said to me, 'Now I am old enough to remember who you were.'"
Who you were?
Yeah.
I'd love to know who you were. It's such a good insult.
So what is your favourite medium to work in, do you think? Or does it change all the time? Because you're using different mediums all the time, aren't you?
Well, I'm always drawing and collaging and things. I don't know. I don't have a favourite medium. I think, I really like just playing around and, okay, when I get on a project, I sort of stick to one thing. But I grew up in Ipswich, right? And there was, there's no gays. I never knew, I sort of just thought I'd never, ever meet anybody, ever. So I had to be the best I could be. And I had to know how to, plaster a wall, wire a plug, make whatever I needed and all that. So I sort of just carried that through my art practice. And
the funny thing about Ipswich is I've met so many people that are about your age that always say there were no gays in Ipswich. I just wish that I could have been there at that time, probably in the, I don't know, I'm guessing your age, 80s, in the 80s, and say, these are all your potential friends.
Yeah.
But no one was out back then, were they? So it's just like...
Why? You're not from Ipswich, are you, Tommy?
No, I'm not. No. I just know lots of people that have been there.
Really? I mean, there was a lot of lesbian pool players.
Right.
Like the only gay bar had it was just full of lesbians who would not let you near the pool table.
I mean, I think that probably is still the case. Last time I was in Ipswich, there was one gay bar that we went to with a big pool table.
Yeah.
I reckon there's a huge gay underbelly in Ipswich, just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah.
Well, I always used to walk home via the docks, and I never found Carell, the sailor, that I wanted to find.
Oh, love that movie.
Yeah.
Have you found him now?
No.
Where are you in London?
East London, so East Ham.
Okay.
So what's the other one? So there's a collage one, which is it called Icon?
Yeah, they're sort of drawn collages. Yeah, that was another little lockdown project. I've done so many projects in lockdown. All sort of based on pop stars and heroes, really. I think because I'd just been a bit lonely and I wanted Live Aid going on in my house.
Right.
I think I felt like when I was looking at your work, I saw a sort of bit of myself within you, in the sense that we both have really made the most of lockdown, and we've just been prolific and done loads of things because we're not usually given this opportunity. Yeah,
exactly. Normally I'm doing sort of design jobs during the day and doing flyer design for other people. So to have, a year just to go mad. It's been really freeing.
Yeah, I can. But you've got a bit of a back problem as well, haven't you? So you've been restricted in what you could do anyway.
Yeah. So I've kind of had a year and a half lockdown. I'm 6 months ahead of the rest of you fuckers.
So we'll look to you.
Lockdown is easy.
Okay.
As long as there's enough bourbon, beer, or whatever, lockdown has been easy.
Are you on bourbon now or beer?
Bourbon and ginger ale.
Okay.
Oh, very nice.
Oh,
We're on the wine. Actually, Tommy, can I have some more?
Yeah.
Is that all right?
What wine is it? Wine makes me cry.
This is the butterfly effect, Shiraz. I love the label.
It was out of stock, and I ordered a case at some point, and it suddenly arrived the other day.
Oh, we feel really sorry for you.
I was like, what is this? What is this that I've ordered?
I had a call from Laithwaites just before you arrived, Bernie.
Did you?
And they said, we wondered whether you wanted to do another order. And I've now signed a contract with Avery's. And I didn't tell them that. I just said that I'd gone dry. And she
Laithwaites.
said, well, can I phone you back in a month? And I said, well, you can try. They probably...
Did you say ovaries? Your ovaries have gone dry.
No, Avery's. And Avery's is... I don't know if Avery's is just a Bristol thing, is it?
No, I don't know.
Their name's Bird. I've heard of an Avery, but never as a wine distributor.
Is that your real name as well? It's not like your artist name.
No, I wouldn't have chosen it.
I don't know. It's a nice name.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
Are these books behind you or CDs?
Oh, can you see all that?
Yeah.
CDs. Yeah.
Wow, that is a massive collection.
All you can really see is your beard and then your library of CDs.
Yeah, I used to work in a record shop, and
Me too.
one of the benefits of being in bands and having lots of musician friends that I've kind of stalked and made them my friends. So I tend to have a lot of music. That's the CDs. You don't want to see the vinyl.
Oh my God, there's vinyl as well, is there? That's amazing.
Yeah. I'm surprised that the floorboards can handle it, basically.
I had the washing machine man come to repair my washing machine, and there's loads of vinyl. My washing machine's in the cupboard under the stairs, and he was quite scared that the records were going to fall on his head.
They didn't.
They didn't. No.
They didn't.
Next time.
I wouldn't advise putting vinyl in a washing machine anyway, but, turntable, Tommy.
Do you listen to all of those CDs regularly, John?
Pretty much, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's the other good thing about like even doing the dolls. Like, it's been a good excuse. Like, when I'm making the dolls, I tend to listen to who I'm making while I'm making them to keep that energy going. So yeah, it's been a good excuse to dig out the classics.
So, out of your famous dolls that you've made, have you had, because you posted a lot on Instagram, haven't you?
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. I love them. Has any of the famous people that you've done commented?
Yeah.
So who? Come on, kiss and tell.
Well, I've sort of broken, because basically I'm holding on to all these dolls until I can do a show. But James Taylor's agent begged me to send it to Canada. So I'm waiting. James Taylor's supposedly going to make some little Insta Live thing with his
James
doll.
Taylor, you got a friend?
Yeah.
Wow. He's got a doll.
Yeah. Maybe that's what he's going to do on his Insta Live thing. He'll do, you've got a doll.
Yeah.
I've got the fuck you. Do you know what I mean?
What is the name of this exhibition? Is it going to be You've Been Dolled, or
I don't
Doll
know.
Yourself Up?
Hello, Dolly.
I've recently had a lot of lesbian friends call me Doll a lot.
Yeah.
I've noticed it become sort of quite fashionable.
I love the name. I love the name
like
Doll
it as well. Yeah, I like it.
because my nan was called Doll. She was called Dorothy, but everyone called her Doll. She was my Nana Doll.
So cute.
And she was amazing. I loved her. She was the most glamorous grandmother anyone could have. That's why I like you, Tommy.
I think doll is a nice term, isn't
Yeah.
it? there's a nice. I don't really like calling anyone love or whatever.
Or mate. I hate mate. I don't know why. It's just like, all right, mate. I'm just like, But
I never use mate if I'm annoyed with somebody.
Yeah. Maybe it's because a lot of people are annoyed with me. That's why they use it. I like Bud because my dad was called Bud. So if someone calls me Buddy or Bud, I quite like that.
What was that short for?
Well, his name was Percy, but everyone called him Bud. So there you go. Anyway, John, it's fabulous to have you on the show. We want to talk some more, but we're going to do some Queens of Agony. You're going to stay on board for dishing out a bit of advice for us.
Absolutely. If I have any advice to give, then I'll try.
Well,
I can see you're a man of the world.
Yeah. So I would.
Man of torture.
I will do a big gong because that's what I do. For the Queens of Agony section. And we've got a few corkers this week. So, dear old Queens, and I'm including you in this, John. Apologies.
Yeah.
Apologies up front.
It's good.
The pandemic is wrecking my social skills! ! I don't have any energy to talk to anyone over the gay dating apps. I'm noticing that many guys face the same issue. I'm looking for human connections. It's been a tough year and dragging into a second year now. There is really nothing to talk about. How do you cope with this? Do you have any inputs for me? By the way, I'm mid-30s and from Europe.
Europe.
So
that's what we have to do now, to specify that we're from Europe.
But I mean, I'm guessing he's not from the UK with that because we're not in Europe anymore.
That's so sad.
Or he's making a political point.
But yes, maybe. Still European.
I think the whole question is actually written in that one sentence.
Do you? Well, okay. So what advice do you give?
Well, it's really interesting because I have been thinking about creating a Tom Marshman finishing school for people that need to go back into social interactions.
Yeah.
Sign me up now.
And it sort of consists of a 3-point program. One is how to walk into a room and get everyone to look at you. Mm-hmm. One is to get a drink from the bar when there's a big queue. And the other one is how to flirt across a crowded room. I think that's all you need to know.
Yeah. I think how to flirt with your eyes when you've got a mask on would be a good skill.
Yeah.
Eye flirting.
And glasses as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Both me and Benny wear glasses.
When you get to our age.
Yeah.
And how to wear glasses with a face mask as well.
Oh, God, it's a nightmare.
I think waving is a very useful technique.
Waving. I'm still smiling at people, though, when I've got a mask on, and it's just like...
I smile at people, and then I've realised that's missed.
Yeah. I mean, it makes shopping less interesting, doesn't it? Because shopping used to be a good cruise, didn't it? Whereas now it's just...
What, in Lidl or... where are we talking?
I'm talking about Marks and Spencer's, but, you know...
Yeah. Bernie's Marks and Spencer's, I'm Lidl.
I mean, I should be Lidl. I mean, I'm beer income, champagne lifestyle. So... But anyway, let's get back to the question. Yeah, how do you... I think I've noticed a lot of this. I bumped into some people today, and it's when you've bumped into people that normally you'd socialise with all the time, and you haven't really seen them that much because of lockdown, it's a bit of a stilted conversation because you don't really know what to say to each other. Also, the fact that, none of us have been doing very much, have we? I guess
exactly. Speak for yourself. Some of us have been making loads of dolls.
No, but I mean, in terms of socialising and stuff like that, it's like there's not loads of different things to talk about.
Yeah, you're true. Yeah. It's true.
Apart from the newsagent lady or whatever.
Yeah, who doesn't really want to talk to you anyway. Or does your newsagent lady want to talk to you?
She does.
Okay.
She's the only person I see apart from my flatmate. So.
Okay.
Has the newsagent lady got a name? Are we on that familiar terms yet?
We call her Auntie. And I don't because
To her
daughters
face?
are too, and they're her daughters.
Okay. So everyone
So-
calls her auntie.
Yeah,
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if I'm a Bengali name, maybe.
Yeah, maybe it is. John, so what's your advice for coming out of lockdown? How do you become more social and be able to talk to people?
Firstly, why would anyone want to talk to people apart from me?
Good answer.
And my advice is just drink heavily and talk. Let it fall out of you.
Alcohol does loosen the tongue, which is why we constantly drink during the recordings of this podcast. So I think our first episode we recorded at about, was it lunchtime?
I don't know.
I think it was about lunchtime, and I brought a bottle of white wine with me.
Okay. Yeah.
But
Yeah, you've got to be careful though, because you can't rely on it. You shouldn't rely on it.
no, okay.
And take a very large plug.
So maybe you two are an example to us all, because you've been doing lots of stuff during lockdown, and you've got that to talk about to people.
That's very good, actually. Yeah.
You know,
People have been thinking in lockdown, haven't they? They haven't just been watching Netflix.
But also,
Or
I
they-
think that people
been
do
watching
like to
Netflix.
talk.
They're still thinking.
I think people do love a conversation about something very mundane and banal. Maybe it's just me, but I could tell you a lot about that washing machine and the adventures that I've had with it, and I think that there's an audience for it.
But there's certain people that can make those mundane things sound really interesting, and you're one of them. Whereas a lot of people would make that sound very boring.
Well, bless you. I'll show you how I operate it soon with my pencil.
So I got suggested when I was making films like a decade ago. I was on a radio show, and someone on the radio show, we were in like the waiting area to go into the studio beforehand, because I think I was talking about one of the films, and they went, "Here, I've got a good story for you," and I was like, "Oh, okay," and they went, "Well, I've just come back from Poland, and one of my work colleagues has had this awful trouble because he's been trying to get his boiler mended remotely from Poland, and it's been an awful time. Anyway, I thought that would be a really good film."
I would concur.
But maybe you're right. Maybe you're right. At the time, I was like, I think it might be a good part of a film, but maybe not the whole film. But maybe I'm wrong.
How would that become a Hollywood blockbuster? Who's he thinking of starring in it? Are we going to have The Rock in it or something?
Well, maybe.
As the boiler.
As the boy. Now, that is a film I want to see, I think.
With his little peanut head is actually like one of the buttons on the dial or something.
I'm interested in that film for quite a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons is I love a good boiler suit.
Right.
And so I'm interested in maybe doing some wardrobe advisory, working in a wardrobe advisory capacity.
You know I want a boiler suit, so I'm going to need your help.
I actually have got one that is too big for me, and I'd like you to try it and see if it works.
Okay.
It's in blue corduroy, which is the one that I have, that I've made famous.
Blue is
some
my
would say.
perfect colour.
Yeah, so you could try it on if you want.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I'm dubious about the blue corduroy.
No, I don't mind, but
like a drill cotton.
It's a beautiful blue. It's not an in-your-face blue,
I love a blue. I also like corduroy, so let's see if I can rock it. Okay. Anyway, have we answered that question?
I would just go back to my point. I know it's not all about me, but if you can focus on the little things and try and make them entertaining and engaging, then you'll go far.
Yep.
And wear a blue corduroy suit.
Boiler suit.
Whilst delivering that, you know.
I mean, a blue corduroy boiler suit is a talking point in itself, right?
It's something to fall back on.
Yeah, totally.
Or a pussy bag.
If he is really dull, just wear something nice.
Anyway, to that mid-30s person from Europe, that's the answer. So let's move on. Dear old queens, so an etiquette question. If you make arrangements for a hookup on Grindr and either get a better offer either you settled because a different hookup wasn't available now and they are, or you just straight up got a better offer, are you obligated to go with the one you already made arrangements with? I'm asking for a friend.
Is that your question? Whose question? Is that yours?
It's not my personal question or John's. I think, well, I don't know if it's John's unless you anonymously emailed it in. So if you've made an arrangement with someone to hook up on Grindr because you couldn't meet somebody else, but then that other person is available, is it acceptable to cancel the one which was the one that you settled for?
No, I would say no. Yeah, I would say you have to stick with the one that the promise. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Laws of etiquette.
If we're talking etiquette,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, because you could always meet the other person another time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Don't fuck around.
yeah, I mean that's the thing with Grindr, isn't it? And the apps, people tend to be fucked around a lot. So I think maybe there should be some etiquette brought into this.
But etiquette should just be a factor of life.
Yeah,
Anyway.
and be polite.
Yeah. Be nice. Fuck them.
But yeah. Well, also, it's just like, how do you know this person isn't like they could be the man of your dreams? You haven't met them yet.
Yeah.
Or the
Unless
person
you've had them before.
Yeah, and it's just like, well, you know, and if you've
what if have they had them before? And it's like,
well, they don't say that. It's not a long letter.
You know. If you've made a plan, you've made a plan, I think.
I think so too. Unless you've got really strong feelings for this other person and you think they're going to be the love of your life and it's make or break, then I don't think it's a good reason to...
No.
Anything other than that is not a good reason to cancel the guy that you've made the arrangements with.
No.
Wise words
Good.
from us, I think, tonight.
John, you've set it up now. It's taken you, I don't know how long we've been talking to you, but you've got the Zoom camera in exactly the right place. We can see...
No, it's like you're sat at the table with us.
Yeah, your optimum position.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
great.
thanks. Like I said, complete Zoom novice.
Well, you're doing well tonight.
I don't like seeing people when I chat to them.
Well, this is why video calls weren't popular before lockdown, wasn't it? We've only done it out of necessity.
No, but I feel sad. I get massive depression. Like seeing people and chatting to them. Just, this is way before lockdown anyway. It's just like, I'm really tactile person. I like to hug people. And so, like, when you see somebody, like, you can't fucking hug them. It's really annoying.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it is a bit, we've talked about this before, where sometimes the end of a Zoom call it's not like going to the pub because you have that walk home where you can kind of, detangle everything that's happened in the evening and the conversations and everything. Whereas when you come off Zoom, you're just alone in your flat again. And it's very prominent that you're alone in your flat again and you don't have your friends with you. So, yeah, Zoom is an odd thing that we have. Anyway, let's move on because I think we've answered that question. Etiquette is a thing for Grindr and it should be. So, dear old queens, this is coming back to the first question slightly as well. Sometimes I need to drink alcohol before being able to enjoy sex more freely, especially when I go to the bathhouses. I never drink so much that I'm not aware of what I'm doing. I don't have unsafe sex, even though I have a few drinks, but need to drink to switch off my brain during sexual pleasure. Does this happen to you or anyone you know? I think that happens to a lot of people, doesn't it?
Yeah, but where did he get his 1970s time machine from?
Yeah, the bathhouses.
Yeah.
Well, they still have them in America, so and we go out to America quite a lot. So it's not personally, but the podcast does. So I'm thinking maybe New York bathhouses or whatever. But in general, not even saunas or bathhouses or things like that. Sometimes you need a bit of Dutch courage, don't you? And I think when David Stewart was on and he was talking about chemsex, and he was saying that sometimes because of gay shame, a lot of people have to take drugs and drink just so they don't have all of that stuff, that pressure that society and the outside world puts on the LGBTQ plus society, to just forget about that, so they're enabled to have sex. So I think it's quite a big thing in our community, really, and I think a lot of people do it. I don't know. Yeah. What about you guys? I think I do sometimes.
Yeah, I think I do as well.
Especially when it comes to casual sex. You know, I think I need a bit of Dutch courage, because it is quite nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Well, it's a very unfamiliar situation, really, that you're putting yourself into. So yeah, you would do that, wouldn't you?
Yeah. How about you, John?
I'm a serial monogamist, so...
Are you?
Yeah, and I still get drunk for that anyway, so yeah just drink. Fuck it.
Just have alcohol in general for chats and bants and sex.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the drug...
I can't help this fucker.
I'm not sure the drug and alcohol advisory committee would approve of our podcast tonight. But we stand in.
That's what I say.
But also, you know, just to present another side, you can have really great sex in the morning when you're sober and in a loving relationship and all of those things.
Oh yeah, totally. I think this is more about.
Are you one of those chirpy wake up people? I wake up and it takes me about 3 hours. I can't imagine having sex in the morning. I'd literally just get the fuck off me, shut up, make me tea, make me coffee.
Bring me eggs.
Roll me a fag. Do you know what I mean? Like, who wants sex in the morning? Like, how did you wake up so sprightly?
I like sex in the morning. I'm with you, Tommy. I quite like a morning boner. Morning glory, as they say. Yeah. But
do you have a glass of, like, raucously on the side for when you wake up?
And a boiled egg.
A pickled egg for me.
Always a turn.
Especially in the morning, with that morning breath. So we stand in solidarity with this person. Sometimes for casual sex, you do need a bit of Dutch courage. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but sometimes it just is a necessity for some people, and I don't think you should be ashamed of that.
No, and do it in moderation, because that would be a nice thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, definitely.
Or just a whole bottle and don't tell anyone.
No one wants to go around to someone's house and they're annihilated.
Yeah, exactly.
They go around for annihilation.
Right. On that note, I'm moving on to the next question. This is quite. I mean, it's a little bit of a kinky question. So,
did you do a whip?
I did a whip then, yeah. I did a little whip for the kinkiness of this question.
I've just noticed my beard has actually got a little kink in it tonight.
It has. It's a little kinky blink. So,
they are.
A kink curl. So, dear old Queen.
Just one?
Queens, sorry.
Personally directed. This one.
Yeah, this is personally directed to one of us. I don't know which one. It's a fantasy of mine to have someone trim my pubic hair. So I have this lifetime fantasy that a coach, drill sergeant, ranch owner, or daddy bear that I live with controls the length of my pubic and body hair. Either trims my hair himself or watches and tells a willing barber to cut my hair. All of it. Bodyscaping could happen too. Perhaps weekly, monthly trims at his demands without resistance. And if I resist, he ties me down and makes it happen. I'm just curious about this. If I were ever to get the chance with a guy to make my fantasy happen for real, does the fantasy go away? So I guess that's the broader question, isn't it? if you've got some massive sexual fantasy that actually turns you on in a fantasy realm, in reality, does that fantasy go away, or is it just shattered?
Oh, yeah. I would say it depends how you feel about how the event sort of manifests itself.
Yeah. I guess if it's really good and is akin to the feeling that your fantasy kind of has.
I would never have a fantasy about someone watching me shave my pubic hair.
Well, I think it was about other people shaving his hair, to be honest. But
isn't the other person giving directions?
that was to the third person.
Okay.
I mean, this is it's a complicated fantasy.
Telling him the length of the clipper, you know.
Yeah. Is it a number one?
What could be on about? Like, is it a number 6 or right down to the 0? You know,
or is it progressive?
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
But he's on about doing it monthly, possibly.
Yeah. What does he say? Perhaps weekly or monthly trims. So obviously, if it's completely shaved off, you're going to have to wait a bit of a while for it to come back, right?
Or just have a really itchy week.
Yes, definitely. But yeah, the broader question is, if you have a fantasy and you fulfill it, does the fantasy go away?
I would say probably not.
Properly.
Oh, okay. We've got a difference of opinion here. So, John, let's hear your opinion.
You might just go, oh, well, that didn't work at all. And 0.
Mine is the same as that, but mine just extends on that. It's like, no, it probably didn't work. It probably will never work. But you might be in the mindset where you go, but I'm willing to try it again because I think that the lighting wasn't right, or we weren't in the right space, or it wasn't the right person. You know, there could be multiple things that if it's a strong enough fantasy, then you probably would want to give it another go.
I think fantasies, when they do work, are amazing, and then you do want to do it again. But I think if it's a failure, maybe it just stays a fantasy, but maybe you do want to do it again because it's not fulfilled.
I did have this fantasy, maybe this is too much information for this podcast, about someone coming in dressed as a gladiator, a Roman gladiator.
From the TV show, or
no, just
or are we talking real gladiator?
Just a generic Roman gladiator.
Okay, yeah, Roman, not ITV.
Yeah, Roman. Yeah, I would say Roman. I don't watch a lot of ITV, so I may not be getting your references.
Did you watch that TV show Spartacus?
No.
Oh, I loved it. It was amazing. I mean, that was very trashy. Lots of homoerotic sex as well. But yeah, I was fixated with that for a while. Okay, but carry on with your with your fantasy.
Yeah. So they came round in a very cheap fancy dress Roman gladiator costume, and it wasn't fulfilled in that moment. And then I suggested it again, and they bought another. And they left the gladiator costume at my house, and then they came round in another gladiator costume, which was just as cheap and didn't look as good. But I still have that fantasy, but I want it to be a really quality.
You want a quality breastplate, don't you?
Yeah, and I want it to be a real leather little skirt. You know, I want the whole works. I don't want a fancy dress thing that you can buy on Amazon.
You want something which is of,
merit.
Blockbuster movie quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the effort needs to be there, doesn't it?
It's a luxury fantasy that you've got there. John, what's your fantasy?
It's a very probing question.
Look, we're sharing, all right? It is pertinent to the question.
I'm living my fantasy right now, chatting to you two.
Has your fantasy been shattered?
Would you want to do it again?
There's a moment where when Tommy moves his head in that direction, where he looks like he's wearing the lampshade, it's beautiful. It's almost like sort of the mother of Wonder Woman. Or you just need some gold wristbands.
Yeah.
And maybe movement from Showgirls.
He's got a lasso of truth as well. So, but he only gets that out at a certain time in a party.
I saw that once.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I think fantasies are good. They're good to explore. I mean, sometimes you can have a fantasy which is never going to be fulfilled, and that's okay too, isn't it? I don't think all of your fantasies should be fulfilled in real life. Sometimes they just need to stay as fantasies. I don't know. What do you guys think? It's a bit like Never Meet Your Heroes, isn't it?
Because just make the doll form.
Yeah, but that's still the fantasy, isn't it?
Yeah, because You make them smaller so you can dominate them.
Okay, now we're getting to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, I don't know. I find fantasy stuff a bit weird anyway, and like I really can't do role play. I can't keep a straight face.
But that's also a giggle, isn't it? The thing is,
Yeah,
that some fantasies,
giggle.
role play doesn't have to be that serious. Sometimes it can be a bit of a giggle. Like, didn't you say to me once? Someone asked you on Grindr what kind of sex do you like, and you went, "I like comedy sex."
But sex is always comedy. So I heard you say that on one of the episodes, and I was like, absolutely, all sex is comedy.
Yeah, but
I love comedy sex.
Like a 70s porn film.
I'm throwing an inflatable beach ball to you.
But no, it's like having the washing machine repairman around.
Did he have a corduroy boiler suit?
No, he didn't. No, and he had to light the cupboard under the stairs with his phone, and it illuminated a photograph that he had on his screen saver of his. I'm presuming it was of his wife and child.
Oh, okay, right. On that note, we've come to the end of our podcast. John, it's been amazing to have you on the show. You've been brilliant.
Thanks. Good chatting to you, handsome brutes.
Oh, bless you. But John, thank you so much for being on the show. Please say goodbye to our lovely audience.
Oh, goodbye, lovely audience, wherever you are. Maybe Europe.
Maybe Europe, all over the world we go. So, but thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for dollifying us.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for being my living dolls.
Oh, bless you. Tommy, thank you as always.
Thank you. It was a lovely evening.
Yeah, it was. And say goodbye to our adoring fans. Goodbye. We will see you next time on What That Old Queen.
You have been listening to What That Old Queen, written and presented by Tom Marshman and Bernie Hodges. The show was produced by Bernie Hodges for Hodge Podcasting in 2021. If you have a question for the old queens, or you'd like to be a guest, or you want to sponsor a show and give us lots of money, you can email hello@thatoldqueen.com or find us on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter.